Hello, everyone. Your cult boyfriend here. It's another and horror analysis. Joined by Jacob. How you doing, Jacob?
I'm good.
Awesome. And how you doing, Justin from Style is Substance?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm
You
good.
want to talk about that? Are you good?
It's one of those days. It's just one of those days.
All right. Today we're
Hello.
talking about Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Uh, an interesting chapter in the Nightmare series. This is the kind of the postmodern meta one. You know what? I don't want to start. I want someone else to. Someone set us up. Set us
Uh,
up. Tee
I
us
mean,
off.
I picked it. I picked it without seeing it.
I picked it,
So
but go on. Go ahead.
oh, okay. Well, it was my choice, but yeah, I picked it.
Okay.
New Nightmare. What do I say? I'm not a host. Seventh movie, right?
Yeah.
1994,
Yeah.
give or take. Yeah, 94. Yeah, our comeback movie. Our comeback movie after Freddy's dead, in which the cast of the original film are haunted by a real world Freddy.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot
Uh,
of postmodern qualities here. It's okay. Let me start off by saying I think it's good. I always cite it as
let,
being a good movie.
let's address the elephant in the room.
It, what's the elephant in the room?
That someone didn't write this.
Oh, okay. I feel like all my videos are starting off with someone talking about an elephant in a room.
I did that earlier today.
Yes,
Oh,
you
did
did.
you?
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't
And
know.
they're both on things I should definitely know about. Okay, Kevin Williamson, um, our God in heaven, did not write this movie. But I always cite this as like a precursor to Scream. Jacob and I have often cited this as a precursor to the postmodern trend of horror movies. And especially interesting seeing Wes Craven play with these ideas. But I was joking around with Justin though. I was saying like it's like talking to someone who doesn't know they're inventing direct democracy or they're talking about like a political theory or philosophy that already exists, and you just want to go,
Mhm.
hey Wes, there's a name for this. You can make this so much more coherent. Have you checked out postmodernism? um, but this is definitely a precursor to that. Just 2 years later, Scream would happen, and I think Scream adds a lot of sophistication to this language. It also removes God entirely. God is my elephant in the room. I kind of hate that
Really?
God is in this movie. And this reminds me a lot of In the Mouth of Madness, but In the Mouth
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Madness
yeah.
worked a bit differently for me because In the Mouth of Madness is really nihilistic for me, whereas Wes Craven's world is kind of like full of like I think a divine meaning, which is fair because he was a spiritual person. He was a man of faith or whatever. But you put God into postmodernism and it just doesn't work. It's just really confusing. And in most postmodern texts, you have let me just finish my list, and you guys can
Sure.
tell me when I'm wrong.
I
Uh,
will.
Good postmodern art isn't just about commenting on the way that we interact or interpret or express what we've learned from art. It's not just, I'm going to blame the movies. What makes Williamson so interesting too is his use of irony, satire, subtext, subversion, and deconstruction. And I feel that all of that is not here. I don't think that Freddy's deconstructed. I don't think there is subtext. I think it is the text. It's not ironic. It's deadly serious. But satire, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he even parodies himself at all here. I think it's like Wes Craven literally believes that his dreams, well, he's made his dreams reality, but he actually thinks Freddy is a physical thing, not just a symbol of something.
Kind of. Well, I don't know how literally I would take it.
I
But on the point of the postmodernism, like being fundamentally opposed to like kind of like religious influence. There's truth to that, but not entirely, because
It
at the
doesn't have
same
to be
time,
like violently
because at the same
opposed to
time,
it. Like
it exists in it exists in conjunction and often in opposition to like
I don't think it has to exist
the
in
absence of God.
opposition. It's not like Scream is like fuck God. Just God does not compute. God is a non-issue. Like God, it just
Right,
No,
why would we bring him up?
but
He's been dead for a million years.
I kind of get what Zach's getting at. Insofar as like postmodernism is literally like a product of the concept of the death of God, not like
right.
literal, but like the idea of like death of God in culture.
Well,
Although I have to admit I didn't think of this much while watching, but I'm interested to hear you guys talk about it.
well, because this is kind of like what we're talking about, and I think that there's like I think that postmodern like texts do have, because I think like ultimately any like I think like any text has the potential to be read as postmodern, and I think that even includes things that have elements of religiousness to it. But I think oftentimes those texts should be kind of like in generally speaking, they're kind of like address like kind of like cultural deicide, where basically as far as like society is concerned, God is dead, and this is kind of like the result. And I feel like that's really what Craven was doing, whether it was intuitive or not, with the last house on the left. Like that's a very like kind of like fundamentally like that's kind of like a response to like uh his like fundamentalism that he was raised on. But at the same time, this one is almost sort of, I would say that I would agree with Zach in some ways, because I do think that it is like, well, I do think postmodernism has like room for those discussions. I think ultimately New Nightmare is actually more in line with like rather than responding to deicide, it's kind of just more like not really even taking that into equation. It's kind of more like responding to it's meta, and you could say it's postmodern, and I probably would still say it's postmodern, but at the same time it's not really, it really loses like core aspects that I see that's common to postmodern texts that even respond to kind of the death of God. Like for example, like I talked about so much channel Freaks and Geeks, like that's responding to deicide. It really is, and you get that with the character of Lindsay. But with this, I don't really see how it's really any like direct confrontation, or even kind of like finding some kind of compromise or middle ground with the concept of like God. It's just kind of more like in this film, God is like a real entity, or at least spiritual, there's something else out there, right? There's like, and it's just beyond like kind of like this devilish force. It's like this, like Freddy Krueger really is kind of just like Satan, and God practically just exists in this world.
I
Uh,
think Freddy Krueger is like literally Satan in this.
Yes,
Like
he is.
they do the Prince of Darkness thing, where it's like in Prince of Darkness they're like, no, it's
well,
literally Satan.
well, or like
Here's the
kind of,
thing, just to comment on some of the stuff Justin was saying as well. Like, it's just, I think that's what makes the early 90s horror films seem so passe, even especially when compared to the late 90s work. I think that religious and spiritual concepts, like, they normally like strengthen a work. Like you can have God in surrealism, expressionism, neorealism, and it strengthens that. You put God in postmodernism and it ruins the integrity of the piece. If anything, this proves that Wes Craven had a natural interest or inclination to the Williamson like postmodern tendencies long before he even read that dude's name. Like he had tendencies to these, but like in the way of how you interact with art, the awkward social responsibility of the creator, and more so interested in the meta-contextual way that art influences our lives and culture on a larger scale. Especially in the great sense of like Heather Langenkamp is playing Heather Langenkamp in the film, and Wes Craven's playing Wes Craven. Like it is a film that would you even call it self-aware though?
yeah, well,
That
to
actually
some,
gets into like, because one of my things about the movie is that like I was actually going to say everything Zach said about the movie, but like as why I like the movie is that like, well, like literally the exact, like I was thinking a lot about how it seems on the surface like a Scream type premise, but completely played straight.
Yeah.
Like well, to a point. There's actually I found like by the second half, like the last like I'll say third of the movie, then he starts to have some fun with it. I notice, and I have a few examples of how he does. But like I'll say like at least the
when it
first
gets more
hour.
demonic.
Not
Yeah,
even that. I mean like the pot shots he takes at like the industry in the second half. And he
right.
does it in a lot of clever ways actually. But in the first like hour, 20 minutes or so, completely straight. In fact, the movie this reminds me of more than anything, is just the first Nightmare on Elm Street, because they're both just fairy tale movies, basically. Both movies are like trying to create their own like little folklore.
Yeah.
In the first movie, because in the first movie you have like this, urban legend, this legend of how Freddy exists, which is like, it's like this very isolated thing to this community, is that like the parents, got together, killed Freddy, and then he comes back to like get revenge on the parents. And you get a similar thing here with like the whole backstory Wes Craven, like in movie Wes Craven, I mean, constructs about like why, this demonic entity that exists for eternity, and then he takes on different forms through like media, or like not media, but like currently media, but like stories.
Which also convinces me that if anyone believed, like we had that I'm gonna blame the movies debate last time, I think that Craven would be arguing that you can blame the movies, and Williams then argues that you can't. Based on this.
Oh,
yes, and that's just
agree.
it kind of got me thinking. I don't, we can maybe like describe, like say like some so and so in this is like postmodern, but I would maybe argue that might not actually be the most prominent lens to view it under, and may actually just be like.
You mean postmodernism?
Yeah,
no, that's the most interesting way to view it under, though.
No.
I
would say so, but I don't know if that's like, because like I mean, it's fine. Like people make postmodern works without consciously realizing it, but like I don't know if that's actually really like the true like modus operandi that Wes Craven is really like kind of employing here. It may just kind of be more from.
I said like
more,
he doesn't know that this is a thing, and that he's like actually.
Well,
doing
yeah, but I don't know if that's really the correct identification of this. Then, if that's the case, like because like
I'd actually disagree, because I think he does interact with the consequences.
Yes,
Well, I say that because, and this is why I bring up the myth thing, and this is partly because I've been reading Adorno. But like part of the whole thing is that like we lost myth, we lost, like that's part of the whole thing, the death of God, like crisis of enlightenment, and so on and so forth. That like we lost myth, and like he creates a new myth, which I think is interesting, but it's a myth that's like irrational. But it clearly affects people. I don't know.
That's like based in media. It's a myth that's based in like like kind of within like our own subconscious, or kind of like how like Satan.
It's like a cultural subconscious.
Yeah, how like Satan kind of like infests like kind of culture as we shift more into postmodernism. I would argue maybe that it may actually be trying to counter postmodernism in some ways. Not to say that it, but maybe.
To be fair, on that note, I don't think a goal like that is actually very far off from what like Scream does, because I think Scream also tries to provide an antidote to postmodernism, which is Nev Campbell succeeding.
Yeah.
Because the typical postmodern solution would be that Nev Campbell gets fucking capped, and she doesn't. She overcomes, and she has like the trauma. So like she's trauma. She's like punished for it. And like it's PTSD, which you see in Scream 2, but like she overcomes it.
Right, I can maybe see that, but at the same time, I feel like this, rather than trying to like replace something, kind of have like kind of aim for post-theism. I think this is kind of more a return to theism in a way.
Yes, but like as opposed to 2 years before Scream, it feels like it was 20 years before Scream. It's fucking crazy. By the way, let me reiterate, I think this is a good movie. I'm just being honest.
I was actually kind of not looking forward to it, while also like I wanted to watch it because I really wanted it to be good, but I kept seeing people say like it basically comes off like a Scream prototype, but then I watched it and I was like, I don't actually feel like I'm watching anything similar to Scream at all. And my favorite Wes Craven movie is the first Nightmare, which this reminded me of most, so I kind of liked it on those grounds.
Okay, so my favorite movie is Last House on the Left, and I would say that with this movie, I would not necessarily call it a Scream prototype. I would say that it treads in some of the same waters, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's very different. And that may be sort of like indicate kind of how, dare I say, the layman kind of engages with Scream rather superficially. I mean, there's a lot there that people may appreciate.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
But that's kind of like ultimately kind of what the way I look at it, where it's like they may just not really get Scream in some ways.
I
That
think
makes
I
sense.
talked about that last week where I'm like, Scream is so good at like its surface text that like I
Yes.
would forgive anyone for not going further.
Well, it's
Like I think
kind of
my exact words were something like I would forgive anyone for not watching
well,
Scream 2 and thinking, oh, Columbine. Like I
Yeah.
get why most people don't go there, but
yeah.
like
Well,
if you
well,
put in
I
the
think
effort.
I think it's very much. Well, it's kind of interesting that you say that because actually, like, I'm not like the biggest Scream
The
fan.
biggest
Like,
fan, I know
yeah,
that.
I'm not the biggest fan, but it's kind of interesting because, but I really like kind of like the things that are beneath the surface. I just don't really care for the surface as much, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yes, they
Of this
intertwine.
or Scream?
No,
Oh,
no, no, of
Scream. Yeah.
Scream. For this, it's actually more for the opposite. Like, but not entirely, not
Like you
entirely.
like the surface text, but you don't
But
like what's
yeah,
underneath this.
well, I would say that's like okay, well, like Freddy Krueger is in hell now, and it's just like, all right. I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I like it channeling Wes Craven's kind of like internal like kind of conflict about like producing media that's like fundamentally against fundamentalism, you know. Uh, but
And
at the same time, it's like well, but at the same time, it's also kind of like sort of somewhat of a compromise reaching that where it's like, but I think ultimately he is sort of like conveying, hey, media may sort of influence people, or media channels demons that we probably don't want to channel, right?
he also does kind of play with that because he with the hospital,
Oh
I
yeah.
forget the nurse's, or I don't know if she's a nurse or a doctor, but the nurse's name, I forget her name, but I think she's actually like named after a rep that like hounded Wes for years because like she would always like demand he cut like violent shit from his movies and he didn't want to. I read that somewhere, and like which makes sense. So that's why I kind of like the doctor character, because one, it has like this great like anti-doctor stance where it's like doctors might actually just be evil, but it also has this position where it's like also they're a stand-in for everyone that goes out for Wes, or like goes
Mhm.
after Wes, goes after his movies, because you know, like she goes after Heather for being ever having even been in a horror movie, and you know, saying she's like ruining her kid's life. Meanwhile, her kid hasn't actually seen the movie. It's just like something that permeates culture and like found its way to him.
That you could
Yeah,
maybe kind of compare that to
yeah.
kind of like
So I see
uh
wrestling in this movie.
well, what's
Um,
kind of interesting that you said that because like it's kind of like the impact, the idea of it, that you can maybe compare that somewhat with like kind of Baudrillard and like his like take on like postmodern philosophy. I remember even like because it's almost like it's like the impact of something like it starts contorting itself, right?
oh,
Like
I can speak to that personally because I didn't get into slashers until maybe like late high school, early college, and I grew up seeing, like, I had friends and neighbors who had like, you know, the toys and the mat. Like I had neighbors at one point that had like the ghost face mask that had the thing with like the thing you squeeze and the blood goes through
oh
the
yeah,
mask.
absolutely.
And like they had like a Freddy mask, a Jason mask, like, and so I had this idea of what these movies were that impacted me and
Well,
influenced me and how I interact with them now, but I never actually watched them.
right. As a kid, I always saw the Scream Mask, and
I had no
I
idea it was even a funny movie. I imagine it must have been like the fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like I was like, oh, Scream, that must be like just gruesome, like
I'm gonna blow
horrible,
your minds.
horrible,
I'm gonna
like
blow your
gruesome
minds
movie.
here.
Oh, do you have it?
I have it.
Oh no,
I have it right in
you
front of
brought
me.
back the memories.
I think I
Yeah,
got this
I
before I
know
ever.
Zach saw them younger. Oh, there. Guess what? No, I don't have.
That'd be ridiculous.
Oh well, now
It's
everyone
it's
knows
funny.
like
I
who
don't
the
know.
two killers are.
I don't know why
Which one of you is
I
Billy?
kept it in my desk and since like Halloween of 2 years ago. I I think it's just a sign. You know, it's for this video.
Who? Which one of you is Billy?
I watched all these
Me.
movies before I was like 10, all of
Yeah,
them.
I was sheltered, unfortunately, to my detriment. Uh, to my detriment, I
So was
regret it
Wes Craven.
immensely. But
So was Wes Craven.
yeah, Wes Craven didn't see a horror movie until he was like the same,
Well,
like
yeah, and that's why he created.
22.
That's why he created Last House on the Left, and it was that extreme. He's like, "What? I thought that's what just what horror movies
Yeah,
were
he was
like."
like,
And they're
I'm
like,
just kind of winging
"No."
it. He was
Um,
literally winging it. I I would like to return to like something Zach said, which is something like I didn't think of as like necessarily like a good or bad thing. It was just like an observation I had that I thought was at least interesting, which is that the movie does not seem to have like a clear thesis, not because it doesn't have ideas, but because it has like a million different ideas that it like flitters between on a scene by scene basis. So like you don't really get it. Like I was trying to figure out how like we're supposed to presume like Heather feels about Nightmare on Elm Street. And this seems to change on a scene by scene basis. And I kind of like that because I think it in its own way reflects some,
Well,
wrestling
yeah,
she has with it. But like on one hand, like well, my example is the scene where she has the interview, because on the one hand, she seems to resent Nightmare on Elm Street because it's like a brand and it's also something she doesn't really want to be associated with. And also because she has a kid, she doesn't want to do horror movies anymore.
yeah,
But then
like,
Robert
that's
Englund
the
comes out
thing.
on stage and she seems to almost be like jealous of Robert Englund and then also kind of afraid of Robert Englund, like in the costume. So it's like she's afraid of this thing she was a part of, but she's also jealous that like it didn't
Well,
provide her more. You get all this stuff
I would
and it
say the
doesn't really
main, I would say
resolve
the
any of it.
right. I would say the main sense of resentment comes from like she comes most resentful, I think, because she now has a kid, and you can't like, and she wants to be a good
Because she
parent,
what?
and you can't because she has a kid now, right? She has a boy, and
Oh. Yeah.
and
Boy.
I think that's the main thing, because also like a lot of the horror kind of like centers around like what's gonna happen to my kid, right? I mean, her husband just kind of just dies, um, and it's like, but at the end of the day, it's like it's kind of like
They
the
don't really
kid.
follow up on that.
Oh,
Like
and
she
I'd be
wants,
so uncomfortable if I was Heather Langenkamp reading this script. So uncomfortable. It's like pretty intrusive.
Um,
Like her husband is actually a special effects guy.
yeah, I heard
but
there was some degree of
it's not that guy, right?
collaboration.
Yeah,
It's not that guy.
No,
No.
no. He was an
yeah.
actor.
I
Same
don't
thing with
think
the
so.
kid. The kid was like the kid from Pet Cemetery. Like
Mhm.
they're
Who
all
is, by the
actors.
way, amazing in Pet Cemetery. One of my
Yeah,
favorite like
he's
child
great.
star performances. Him going, not there. Like, oh my god, he's so scary as Gabe.
It's a good part. I think she did have a stalker in real life, but it was actually a
Yeah.
stalker completely unrelated to Nightmare. It was from like a TV show she did. I heard
Really
she gave permission for incorporating that. I don't know much about the other stuff. Like I don't
interesting.
know to what degree the aspects of her personal life were like incorporated into the script by Wes, like without her permission or like prior to permission. I have
Oh,
no
I'm
idea.
sure Wes didn't overstep his boundaries. I just think like, wow, that's a bit.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird one.
It's weird,
I've heard like
but I think
other ones are like I like how Robert Englund, it's like I wonder what Robert Englund does in his free time. He's just painting. By the way, I didn't realize John Saxon was in this. Like
Rest in
beforehand.
peace.
Like I knew Wes Craven was in it, I knew
rest in
Rob was in
peace.
it,
Yeah.
like as himself, and I knew like
Rest,
some of the other background. I had no idea John Saxon was. I was so happy.
yeah.
He's one
Rest
of
in
those I
peace.
think I've talked about in the Tenebra video. Like I love it whenever John Saxon shows up.
John Saxon, rest in peace, is amazing. I love that he's in this.
He's
That's actually one
great.
of my
Well, I mean,
favorite parts.
Wait,
well,
what, Zach?
also rest in peace to Wes Craven. Right. I mean,
What
like,
Zach?
go on.
I don't know whose thread to follow here.
I was saying what, Zach?
Oh, okay. No. One of my favorite parts of the movie is when like John Saxon is bringing her inside her house or something, and then they turn around and you're back in Nightmare on Elm Street 1. Like that was like seamless. It was lovely. He's
Oh yeah, it was
dad
done in like
again.
one cut. It was
I
like the
don't know
scene in
what to, I
Existence.
don't know what to think of that, but it's
That
almost
was
like
one of the times I feel like it succeeded for sure.
well, I don't. Well, the thing is that I liked most about this. I'm just gonna jump around here. The thing I liked most about it actually was kind of like the anxiety leading up before. It's like, is Freddy real? Is Freddy not real? But like leading up before like her husband's death, like because it's like I think there's a lot of like kind of building like anxiety, and I feel like that's at least for a first time viewer, that's where like a lot of the tension comes from. But then as it goes on, it becomes a little like I don't know.
But
I
then
mean,
it loses
I'm
me
okay
at
with
like
self-indulgence. It's just like, yeah, go
Justin,
on.
when her husband dies, what is he listening to?
Losing my
I forget.
religion. Is losing my
Losing
religion.
my
Yeah,
religion.
losing my religion.
He
Yeah.
was singing along too.
Although this was
It's
actually an
not what art
observation I
is
had that
really
I thought was
about.
interesting. This
What?
is a thing that I thought was interesting, and I think it reveals like kind of the Wes Cravenisms, or it kind of helps like distinguish the Wes Cravenisms and the Kevinisms, at least in Scream. Is that Scream, like the way Scream is structured, it's pretty cool. Because what Scream does on a scene by scene basis is that it like heavily telegraphs what's about to happen on purpose. Like it does it very
Right.
much on purpose. Like if a scene's going to involve someone dying, it telegraphs, like, you know, like you enter a scene and within like 5 seconds you're like, all right, Sarah Michelle Gellar is about to fucking die. And there's like the degree where it like encourages you to know that ahead of time because it's trying to interact with the fact that you as a viewer know what's fucking happening in these movies. So it's doing it on purpose. This movie I think is interesting because on a scene by scene basis, I had no idea where any scene was actually going, and I couldn't really work out which scenes were like. It does a lot the trope of like something bad happens and then it's like, no, it's just a dream because it's Nightmare on Elm Street. But where it goes with that is half the time they are dreams, but then they're also dreams that happen.
Well, yeah.
Like
Also, it's
she
really
has like multiple dreams. She has multiple dreams of people dying and they're all
right.
fake, and then she has one and it's real. So I like that. I like
Well,
that a lot.
I think it's very fluid. I also love like kind of the beginning where it's like it starts off like inside kind of the movie, but then you realize it's just a film of a movie, but it's actually just the first dream, and then she wakes up, and I love this the earthquake stuff, like she wakes
With the
up to her
claw.
world being shot, her world's like shattering around her, right? Like that's great.
I love the claw on the wall, the big like
Yes,
gash in the wall.
yes,
That's cool.
because it's almost like, do these symbols actually mean something? But ultimately they do.
I see Wes is on like the right track, like so many times. It's just like something with the scream, like what you just pointed out. Uh, a Kevinism, he can recontextualize a trope while deconstructing it simultaneously. Wes recontextualized the most famous death he's ever filmed with Hey
The
Dylan,
Johnny
you ever
Depp
play
death, right?
yeah, you ever
Or,
play Skin the Cat and brings
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
babysitter up the wall? He
Or,
recontextualizes it perfectly, but then I feel has nothing else to say about it other than I did it again, but it's real.
hmm.
Do you guys get anything else from that death other than I recontextualized it, but I failed to do anything else with it?
I mean, I don't think he's working like with like the. I really feel like this movie, it's more of like the encompassing picture is meant to evoke a response rather than like on a scene by scene basis, if that makes sense. So I do feel like there's a degree to which this movie is about like people getting like killed by the things they create or ruin, because like there's
Yeah.
a Heather feels like she's like basically victim to this character she's associated with, and yet like she only
Well,
succeeds by like
yes, like what?
joining with this character that she created. Like she has to
Yes,
become Nancy to succeed, but she's like suffering because she's Nancy, and
yes,
so on
yes,
and so forth.
yes.
So
I
I don't.
I agree with that, but at the same time, like you have like, in support of what you're saying, like her husband dies kind of like at the little hand of what he has created. But then you have to consider like her friend slash like kind of babysitter. She dies too. Like, what is I don't.
Just for no reason at all.
I,
Yeah, no reason at all.
you know what I'm saying? I don't.
I although we say that, but there's Wes has talked about like after he did Last House on the Left, because again he did that for a fucking job. He needed money, you know. He just did the job because he had to, and he was like, I don't know how horror movies work. This sounds like horrible, so I'll do it. And then he lost friends. Like his
Oh, I
personal life
bet.
was impacted. His personal life was impacted drastically by doing horror, and he lost a lot of friends because of it. I think he had like drama with his family because of it. And then ultimately, like even he kind of not resented it, because I know he's spoken many times like that he's very proud because he made like 2 franchises that are famous and people love them. So he's like very proud of what he did, but he also kind of, you know, he didn't want to do this forever and he ended up doing it forever. He
Well,
wanted to do like comedies, he wanted to do
yeah.
musical,
I
he
mean,
wanted to make a
even
musical. So I think he relates to the material. Like I think he relates.
right.
It's almost like it's Heather, but it's actually about Wes, you
I
know?
mean, even
Like it's
in
about
the
his
film,
feelings.
they're like, oh, Wes Craven like has retired from horror. Like, oh, maybe not. And then of course
He
he
did
doesn't.
not know, because he made like
He made
Scream 1
Scream.
through 4. He made Red Eye. He made My Soul to
Red
Take.
Eye's
Like he
thriller,
never
I'm
but
stopped.
excited because they just put together the original Curse, or as close as they can get to the
Cursed.
original
Yeah,
Curse
Cursed.
cut,
I've heard
which
about
was
that. Yeah.
the other time Craven and Williamson joined, but it was ruined by the Weinsteins in particular,
Yeah.
actually. But
Yeah.
I think they just now put it together, and I can't wait to see
Really?
that.
I heard it was like lost forever.
I just read some article from like Bloody Disgusting or something. Maybe it's not exactly from them, but like like they're putting it back together that
Oh,
the
that's
best that
cool.
they could. Yeah,
No, that's cool. That's cool.
can't wait.
It's like it's like the other side of the wind of horror.
For real. Apparently in the real version of Cursed, Joshua Jackson isn't even in it, which I think is a detriment to the film, honestly. But we can get back to New Nightmare.
We'll get the Zach cut. But no, basically what I'm getting is that like I feel like a lot of the self-referential like qualities of this movie are almost incidental because he still seems like mostly interested in the text as like a folk tale or like of some kind, and so they're more just means to ends at that point. But because I think the movie's more about him or like his experience with like working in genre and his experience working in Hollywood, because again,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of aspects about how like he resents the industry because they kind of treat him
Right.
like shit and they treat everyone like shit, and how he's like he just wanted to do other stuff and he was never really allowed to. And part of that's also his fans' fault, because I know there's a lot of dialogue about like fans, you know, there's the line where they're like, she's like, I thought you killed Freddy. It's like, yeah, but you know, the fans, God love them, they just
Yeah, I
want
do think
more.
that
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
the talk show scene is really well filmed. I love that. When we
It's
first
really
see Robert Englund
complicated.
in the original Freddy makeup coming out and like getting cheers from an audience like dressed as the killers, pretty reminiscent of the beginning of Scream 2 as well. Like
A-
a lot
And
of
then
it's
he
really
immediately cuts to him and he's like, hey guys, how's it going?
yeah,
Like in
okay,
the
what
back
is the
room.
implication of Robert Englund disappearing in the movie?
I had a couple ideas. One is that he knew what was going on and he got the fuck out of Dodge.
Or that
The
he's
other,
Freddy? Like
yeah,
what's the other option?
I thought the
I think it's like a
possibility
red
is that
herring.
his body is. I think the possibility is that he's like possessed, like his body is needed as like a vessel
Yeah.
because like and that's why like the Freddy looks like him,
And
but also
Justin,
completely different from the movie.
I think Robert might be a red herring too. It's just Jacob and I could definitely name you a different slasher movie that came out like 4 years later that made Robert Englund a much better red herring, but we won't do it.
Although, like, I wish he was in Urban Legend more. It would have been
He
so
did it.
funny.
Here it was just confusing. I'm like, yeah, but you can't make him the like. You can't at least. You have to show me him alive at some point, not just painting and then boom, gone, leaving a long voicemail.
Right. I
Oh,
mean,
I do like
mean,
this.
it makes sense why he's a red herring. I mean, like they don't want to like villainize Robert England. Like, but at the same
I do
time,
like,
like,
or go ahead. What?
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say I really like how that's like, what do these guys do in their free time? And it's Robert Englund's painting. Like Wes Craven has a maid. Although it's not actually Wes Craven's house, but like Wes Craven is supposed to have like a maid. Like they're all living bougie lifestyles. It's really funny to me. Although I guess Heather has like a pretty suburban life, but
Superficially,
yeah.
what do you guys think of Freddy's redesign? I know a lot of horror fans.
Yeah,
take issue with it.
I was telling you this earlier. I'm not like I don't. Okay, first of all, I don't mind it that much. I mean, it's like whatever. But like, but at the end of the day, I'm thinking like, depending on how you shoot the scene, like I really think the original stuff is better. You know, because he's like, you know, he's the like this one. It's like it looked more like makeup. What's up with that? Like,
It only stuck out to me in a few parts where you see him like really clearly.
well, yeah,
Like
and
there's parts where you see him and it's like really well lit, like
right.
overlit. Yeah.
And those scenes are cool. Don't get me wrong. It's just kind of like I just don't really get the point of.
I liked it.
Of
I
course
think
you
I
do.
like it. No, I only like it insofar as like it doesn't look like the movies. You know, like they're
Yeah.
trying to make it look like
Yeah,
less
but
like makeup.
but no,
But
but it looks
it
more
kind
like
of becomes
makeup that
obvious.
way.
It becomes obvious a few points. I think other parts,
I
like
don't
the
know.
finale, I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know
The
if you.
whole like,
Yeah.
although I have to say, like the last section reminded me of shit like what's that show from the 90s, the game show on Nickelodeon, where they're
Oh,
in the
Legend of the
temple,
Hidden Temple
Legends
or
of the
some
Hidden
shit.
Temple. It
Yeah.
looked like that, like it was like this TV set that they're running around and they keep reusing areas from.
And that was
Oh.
actual hell. That was hell. Like,
Yeah.
come on, Wes, give me a break.
Not much different from like Imprints of Darkness, when like the literal anti-god is supposed to be coming into our world and you see the hand and it's like the Tim Curry legend hand is coming out of the mirror and that's supposed to be the anti-god. I kind of love that shit. I find it endearing, but
I
it
do
is
think that
silly. It is
Craven's
silly.
like Craven has a better hold of what actually makes Freddy like a terrifying personality. Like Freddy's personality in here is much more similar to the original Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy than
Right.
anyone in between has been. A man of few words, but those words are kind of fucking like creepy, scary. I do love, you know, like ever play Skin the Cat or like pick out a toy for the Rugrat. He has like 4 lines really on camera, as opposed on the phone. I guess he leaves a bunch of words.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
What's up with Craven and phones?
Well, I mean, he obviously didn't know how to write a good phone conversation. Thank
I
you,
do
Kevin.
I do think I completely forgot where I was going. What were you just talking about?
Just how I like the attitude. Like, I do feel this is a very sinister Freddy. He
Oh,
hasn't
yeah.
felt this actually threatening since number 1. Which isn't to say like this is like my 4th favorite Freddy movie. I like the first 3 more. The first 3 are a lot better.
Really?
Mhm.
Huh. I've only seen the
was-
first one and this one. Interesting.
I was thinking while watching that, like, I always thought it was interesting that I never really, for years, didn't really think of like Robert Englund in relation to Nightmare on Elm Street. In fact, I thought of him more for like Eaten Alive and like
Really?
shit like that. Well, and I realized the reason is because for years I'd only seen the first movie, and in the first movie he's like mostly in shadows and you don't see him a
Yeah,
lot. And
but
then like
I
the second one, he's like running around a fucking pool party, cutting people up.
And in the first film, I do like that. Like, it still has a spiritual bent. There's still like the faith of Craven like pouring through. But
5'6"
like
crucifix.
Freddy putting up his arm in the first movie, and like when the blonde says like, "Oh my God," and he goes, "No, this is God," and he cuts his arm open and maggots fall out of it. I'm like, that's the Craven I want. I want
Yeah,
that.
that's great.
Ooh, that's beautiful, beautifully done. Here it's like I am Lucifer. Here's my castle full of snakes. Jesus Christ. Wow,
I don't know.
It's a bit.
Oh, okay. What's up with the dinosaur? It looks like his guardian angel, the kid's guardian angel, like the toy
I don't
dinosaur.
know.
Why? What's it gonna do with
Justin and
anything?
Justin and I
I don't
talked
know.
about this, and I think a perfect ending would have been a real fucking dinosaur coming at the end,
Yeah,
eating fucking Freddy, like a real Rex.
yeah. I thought they were gonna do something like that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where the series takes it, but
I don't know.
alas,
thought it was just like a
I was
kid
hoping
thing.
for them to like do something with Jurassic Park, like, but oh well.
I just thought it was like a normal like child thing to do. I didn't think
You know,
that
it is.
much about it.
It's
Well,
just,
This is like the
that,
Dewey of
that
this
Rex put up a
movie.
pretty good fight because Dylan had faith, you guys. Dylan had faith that stuffed animal. Okay, what does it
I don't
mean?
know.
Dylan is away from God, closer to God than Dylan is.
Well, he was even like,
I'm still gonna.
he was even
I'm
talking to
still
his
gonna
mom
say.
about getting into heaven. Like, it's all about like,
But he
why do you
can't get in there
why do you
because
have
like
to die to meet God?
I'm still
Or
gonna
something
say
like
I don't
that.
find this much less like faith driven than Scream, all things considered.
all things
I
considered,
genuinely don't.
there's nothing faith driven about Scream.
Yeah, I don't know what
They
I
just
you're.
bring up
disagree.
God.
I don't know
I
what you're
disagree.
on about.
They don't literally talk about it, but I think there is kind of like a divine order to Scream that
How
works
do you
itself out, and that
There's
how do you
no
define
divine order
divine?
to Scream.
How
there
do you
is
define
because she
divine?
survives. She survives
There's nothing
every
divine
time.
about surviving.
No, but it's surviving and like reinstating the way things should be. Like it feels like she's not meant to die. It
Why
feels
is
like
God
she's destined
necessary
to
in
do
that
this.
reading? Like, why is faith necessary in that reading, though?
It depends
I
what
think a
you.
divine order kind of
Okay.
implies it.
If you stretch spirituality, if you stretch faith, if you stretch like divinity, yeah, maybe. But like this is like a more
Well,
tangible, like Christianized divinity.
I don't.
So I don't agree with you on that one.
When
Like
I think
yes, you can look at
godlessness,
something and be like, for any text, it's like, well, you know, if there's like the structure, it's kind of like this is the structure of a horror film. If anything, by deviating from the order of the horror film by making her survive or whatever,
well, let me offer
is
you
that
like a
really,
comparison point because
or what
my
should be the final
baseline
film?
for godlessness is Sally at the end of Texas Chainsaw, coated in blood, ruined forever, all her friends dead, and that's like my baseline for godlessness. And I don't know, there's a degree to which I find like kind of a faith in like things going right in Scream
Yeah, I mean,
that
it
I
went
think
so
carries
right.
over here.
Her boyfriend only killed her best friend and then
Yeah.
basically raped
Yeah,
her
but
and
she
killed
did.
her mom.
Yeah,
But she
the
lived.
people that matter live. Dewey lives no matter what.
Dewey does not
Dewey
matter.
lives no matter.
Dear,
Dewey
dear
lives no matter
viewer,
what.
dear
Into
viewer,
it.
God is dead in Scream. God's been dead in Scream. There is no God. God does not have to be here for these tropes to divinely fit in order.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, and
that's-
they're also subverted. They're also subverted from
do.
the order. So like, okay, listen. Like, I'm a-okay with like God being present in like films, but the thing is, like, I just don't see that for Scream. I really don't.
I mean, I say this more to say like I don't think New Nightmare is much less or much
No,
more.
no,
It's,
But what if
totally
they
it's very
is.
much
hyper
the same
literally
realm.
say
Like,
it? The kid stands
it's
on top
like
of a playground
He says it. He
castle.
says it, but his fucking dad is dead because a cartoon character killed him.
Yeah, and Neb's fucking Sydney's mom is dead, and she's never like, well, she's in heaven
Yeah,
now.
that's what I'm
You know
saying.
why?
Like,
Because
they're
heaven
not
doesn't
much far
exist.
off.
Heaven's not real, Jacob.
Oh no. Oh god. Oh no. Oh
Because
fuck.
it doesn't matter. It's just a non-issue in Scream. They don't have to
yeah,
worry.
I
No, but
really,
that's what I'm saying is
really,
like I think it's as much the same here.
no.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're looking at from
They
like this,
end up
like
in
if you're looking
hell
at
in
from the
this movie.
spiritual atheist, if you're looking at from the spiritual atheist kind of point of view, where like God and the lack of God are the same thing. Yeah, sure, whatever, by your definition. But like by looking at just like what the film is trying to say and what the other film is trying to say, I would say
What
Scream
is the film trying to
atheist.
say about
Wait,
God
wait, wait,
though?
wait. Jacob,
Okay.
what if they end up in hell in one of these movies? An actual hell, like a physical hell with the devil, which you said was the devil earlier.
I use
Is
it more
Billy
as a
Loomis the
reference.
devil?
He might be.
No,
Oh,
he's
come
not. He's
on,
just some fun kid.
Kind of might be. No, I don't mean that literally.
Jacob,
I'm
He's a
just
cinephile with a
no.
heart on. Oh my god.
no.
Billy.
No, Billy's just a fucking asshole. Billy's just
Thank
like
you.
the kid that calls you the R word on
Freddy is
like
Satan.
Xbox Live. It's
That's exactly who he is. Yeah, I said a cinephile with a heart on. That's all that fucking kid is.
Yeah, I don't like if you're trying to like look at like divinity within any like there's like ways to
no,
stretch
no.
it, but
I'm
but if
saying
you're
more
looking
that
at
I don't think New Nightmare has much. Like I did not think of God once watching this movie.
I thought of him
not
constantly.
even when they talk about God ad nauseum,
No.
we're talking about the come on.
No,
Come
not
on,
once.
Jacob.
Not once.
Come on,
Because you know
Jacob.
why? Because he's like it's this ancient demonic entity
Oh,
that
I'm
manifests
losing
through
my
pop culture.
religion. I'm losing my religion. No,
It's
REM isn't
REM. I
even
sing that song.
REM isn't even simply just talk about religion. Like that's been something else. But he co-opted it. He made it about religion. Like literally, like I'm losing my religion. No. That's me in the corner. That's me in the
No,
spot.
I mean he has like Christian
losing
values.
my
That's
religion.
I really don't care about the song. He obviously is faith driven. Like he believes in, say, retribution. He did that in Last House on the Left. Like the parents,
Okay,
these
that's
like
a whole.
arbiters.
Okay, listen. This is tangential. What good is that retribution in that film though? Like I don't
In Last
see.
House on the Left.
Yeah, in the
I don't know.
in
You
the
know
in the
more about
original.
that movie than I do. I don't really
Yeah,
care about
in the
it.
original Last House on the Left. I think that the revenge is ultimately kind of seen as kind of like this like almost like fruitless venture where like
No, it
basically it's
is.
like yeah and it's almost just like they're all just like killing each other and it's senseless.
No, it's
And
incredibly nihilistic.
I mean I still think that Craven, rest in peace, like was trying to like he's trying to convince like yeah, I think he's trying to respond to kind of like his like faith. I think he's still in some ways was like Christian, at least in some ways. But this film is like responding kind of to like the idea that God is dead. You know, like and I don't. As far as like retribution, I don't think that makes it a spiritual film. I feel like it's more kind of like a response to spirituality. And likewise, I think Scream is really not, at least what I would typically classify. Maybe if you stretch it in the same way you can stretch like Workmeister Harmonies as a Christian film. Yeah, no, I think like no, I just
Kind of
don't think
is,
that's the right.
but
I think that,
I mean,
that
I
both Craven and Williamson like are like sentimentalists at the end of the day. But
I think
if we were talking about Carpenter, like Carpenter, I think sardonically uses concepts like God to get you into a more vulnerable or a very specific kind of headspace. I don't think that Craven's pulling that punch I think that
Well,
Craven
okay,
means
I think he is, but
but
only
with
because
New
it's the only baseline he has. Because I think he's a filmmaker who's working from like a Christian worldview just implicitly in anything he works on. But I think he's mostly disinterested in it. Like, I think he's more interested in the pop culture aspect of everything at play here. Because again, I think
Well,
this movie is more
so
about
would you
himself.
say that Wes Craven, that's a piece with this, like, I don't know,
You don't
saying
have to
that,
keep saying it.
like, you just had
You don't have to keep saying rest in peace. It's been like a decade.
no,
It's
Wes Craven, rest in
it's
peace.
been years
No, okay,
since he
listen,
died.
listen, I think we should take a moment of silence.
I
Just-
do that
ju-
every
ju-
time I
just
wake
10
up.
just 10 seconds. So Wes Craven, rest in peace. What I was trying to say was basically like,
Tell me.
I
we have
think,
a 10-second moment of silence for John Saxon.
oh, okay, good.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Come on. What are we doing?
Now a moment of silence for Freddy. Because as we've established, Freddy is dead. But
A moment of silence for God.
Hey,
God.
okay, I knew you were gonna go there. All right, but basically, Wes Craven, rest in peace. I was thinking was what he's trying to do is you can maybe make the argument that this is not like very like sufficient engagement with faith. Is that what you kind of trying to say? Where like,
yeah, because I think
then
like
why are you trying
Andy,
to make Scream into a spiritual film? Like
no,
that's,
no, I'm
no,
saying
okay.
Jacob's trying to say
You're
that,
no,
that God is in
hold
all
on,
of his
hold
work.
on, hold on. What I'm saying is
Okay.
no, it's tangential here. And so it's there, but just as tangential there.
No.
Like it's present in both and
Yeah,
just
yeah,
as
okay.
tangential in
I can
both.
maybe argue, I can maybe see the argument that
Here's-
that like Craven inherently kind of adds a little bit of Christianization into his film. Sure, maybe even Scream, but at the end of the day, which one directly comments on God? That would
Yeah, I don't
be-
think this does. What does this
that-
have to say about God?
well, that's another conversation. But either way, okay.
No, that's
listen,
the important.
listen,
That's the
Jacob,
most important question.
Jacob,
That's the most
Jacob.
important
They
question.
go
If this is
to
about God,
hell. They go
what
to
is this
hell.
about? So do they do that in Prince of Darkness? What does this have to say about God?
We
What does
must
this movie have to
confront
say
our
about God?
demons. We must expel our demons. It's a
What
okay.
the fuck does that mean? Is that what The Exorcist is about? Is that what Prince of Darkness is about? Tell
I
me.
think some parallel between this and Exorcist actually. No, Exorcist I would argue.
Actually, it is. It is a lot like The
Christianized.
Exorcist. Yeah, it uses a lot of the same tropes and like narrative arcs.
Kid even
But-
spits up like vomit and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
they do the spitting joke. It's
like-
they should have gotten Linda Blair for this.
Yeah, except The Exorcist had a good child actor. That was a terrible performance. I like.
I feel like
But
they
I did
really
hate it.
wanted. I feel like they really wanted to justify his behavior by saying no, he's just out of it because he's being possessed by a demon. But like, there's parts where he's not being possessed and he's just acting like shit. And
Right.
it's
Don't
so
let me detract from the fucking firestorm
Oh,
that's happening. I love that New Nightmare is this fucking like
My-
cathartic and not controversial. fucking
my favorite acting thing is Wes Craven mumbling through all his lines, and
Dude,
I think I saw.
No, that's what he says on the commentary. I listened to his
Yeah.
the commentary, and he's like, I was mumbling, and they said they couldn't hear me, and I was just so insecure and nervous. I said, whatever, we're just doing it.
You can literally hear his lips smacking on
Yeah,
like
you
the
can.
audio
They had
track.
to,
It's so funny. I was like, "Oh, Wes, I miss you. You're so cute." Like he's trying
rest
so
in
hard
peace.
because he's like, "I have to do it for the movie. This is important to the movie. I have to be in it." And then he got on camera and he's like, "God, I don't want to do this."
Well, he
God.
was in the very beginning too, right? Like he was kind of.
He's in like sporadically throughout. They also did this for the trailers. I looked up the trailers. They did not fucking know how to market this movie. They tried to make it seem like the plot of the movie is actually what happened. Like they have like black and white footage where they're interviewing Robert Englund and Wes Craven.
Yeah,
And he like
so-
says his spiel from the movie where he's like, yeah, I've been having these nightmares, so I just had to write the movie. And then they tried to do like actual trailer shit, like scenes from the movie. And it's like, this isn't a documentary. Like, I know it's fake. How are you trying to market this?
Well,
It's really
that's
funny.
that's the thing. I also kind of wonder like how like why even make it like meta.
Well, that's what I said at the start, because I was like, it seems so
Well,
like,
I think the idea is like,
loosely.
I think the idea is like he's trying to think of like, what can we, Wes Craven and some pizza. I think what he's trying to say was basically like, what can we do to make it even like more.
Yeah, I get it, because it's kind of implicit to the concept of the franchise.
Well,
dream
I
sequences.
think it's almost like, okay, we need to go back to basics, but how can we go back to basics? Because he thought like the character was kind of like flanderized over time, right? Like to some extent.
Oh,
Um,
I mean, yeah, because the whole thing is that he wants to go back to the framework of the first movie, which was just a
then it's
folktale, but like
also
he also wants to
right,
escalate.
but then I
So
think
he's
it's
doing both.
also what's Craven recipes. I think is trying to confront his demons in a way, but
Yeah, yes.
I don't know how like sincerely he believes. Oh no, this is like the work of the devil. But it's like, okay, well, I have to like filter this through film, right? But I view it ultimately less like film, like at least from Wes Craven recipes is like framework. It was like he was trying to like like yeah, what? He's trying to use film as a means to confront demons rather than film itself being kind of like the source of demons in some ways. And that's why he was a great, and I don't know how much
I don't know if you
think.
can separate those two. I think they're kind of like
Well, yeah,
intrinsically
and that's
linked.
kind of the incongruity at play, right? And that's kind of, and
Well, I
also,
mean, like, I
well,
think he
also there's a
knowing, I
paradoxical
think he
framework in every
thinks.
way. What Wes Craven Recipe was trying to do was
I mean, I literally don't think he
he
separated
had,
those two things. I think he
well,
thinks
you
the
could say,
things that bothered him were the demons.
right, but then how does he confront it? By making her return to the film once more. We must go back to basics.
Yeah.
We must kill Freddy while we still can, because Freddy is out there and he's gonna kill us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, but it's like, what is this Freddy? Basically, Freddy is like an abstract, just kind of like how like Christianity will like look at like any religion and be like, yeah, the demons are real, and those or other gods are real, but they're all like just demons. They're all just kind of like the they all just work for Satan,
the Percy Jackson thing.
they just are Satan, but kind of like reimagine, right? And it's like like Freddy, like that's just Satan, we got to get rid of Satan, and we got to reach God once we die, and rest in peace. So that's the story there.
The kid was in a playground trying to reach God.
Oh, but Zach, it's not. It's just a spiritual scream, though.
It is.
No, it's not. Okay. Look, you can look
Also,
at
he
it.
was like literally being possessed in that scene by Freddy.
Yeah, you know what doesn't have
So
possession?
like demons.
Dream.
Tell me, Justin, why would a demon do that if not ironically and to kill a child?
It's ironic, but Satan is real in this movie.
Yes.
It's not Columbine kids that want to like screw each other, right?
I'm gonna be real. I don't get I'm not following you here.
No, listen. Okay.
I'm not following you because
okay.
only because you make an exception for Last House and Prince of Darkness and the like. I don't see the distinction.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, because like we're like, yeah, but Prince of Darkness, it doesn't matter there.
Last House is almost kind of like in some ways, whether it's like intuitive or what, but it's kind of like a response to kind of like his own upbringing. Like he was raised fundamentalist. He decided to it's about faith in that sense, but it's also about the absence of faith. Is kind of what it is.
Yes.
Whereas this movie, I maybe what you're saying is like Zach is wrong in the sense that like he's not reaching God. It's the devil trying to kind of like mock God in a way. But in the end, we're not siding with Freddy in the end. We want to kill him.
What I'm saying is that this is too narcissistic a movie to be that interested.
They read the script. They're like the script.
And I say that as a good thing, but it's the truth.
Jacob,
this is a movie script about Wes Craven.
Everything is in God's plan.
This movie does not give a shit about God because it cares too much about Wes Craven.
I don't think. Well, okay, so I can maybe see some argument there. Rest in peace, Wes Craven. But I think like what he's doing.
It's a narcissistic movie. It's about his own experiences. It's about his own feelings that he's projecting onto this actress.
Maybe it's saying in some ways. But in that way, would you say that Wes Craven Recipes is playing God?
Sure.
Is that what you're saying?
I mean, he was doing that in the first movie too. I mean, no, I mean like very literally. He was doing that in the first movie because Nancy in the first movie is literally like she succeeds, and even when she succeeds, she fails.
Oh no, there's a lot of great like Christian interpretation of A Nightmare on Elm Street 1 where like it all plays in, like that scene where Freddy's coming out from behind the wall over her bed, but there's a cross over her bed so she doesn't go to Nancy.
Well,
Yeah, yeah,
there's that whole like
All over the
little
place.
there's that whole little like rhyme that they do where I forget what it was, like, you know,
And-
1, 2,
So
3,
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.
Yeah.
3, 4, he's
Yeah.
something or
It
other.
wouldn't
Got the
shock
door.
me if like
5, 6,
William-
grab your crucifix. Come on, like.
It wouldn't shock me if Williamson himself like wasn't an atheist. It's just he was a great postmodern writer. I don't think about God at all when I'm watching Scream. I'm not just being argumentative. I feel like I'm being gaslit by Jacob.
No,
there's-
No,
don't
I
be
mean my
gaslit.
argument is that like I don't think of God
Oh,
at all
okay.
while watching this.
This is what I think you're saying.
Okay.
This is what I think you're saying, Jacob. You're saying that
I think it's all incidental. It's
could
just
say
there
that
because like
Scream-
what else was he gonna do?
Scream is not very like, it's not a very spiritual film, but you could say in the same way that even though this employs kind of like Christian kind of like so-called commentary, that it's ultimately not actually that like spiritual either. That's what you're
Because
saying.
he's a Christian,
But
or
why
he was
did-
like raised
earlier you said
Christian.
Scream. Yeah, but earlier you said
No,
Scream
but I'm
was
saying
Scream.
Scream is in the same way that I think Andy Warhol is influenced by like Christian values because it's like just implicit. It's just implicit in a worldview, in a conception of good and evil,
yes,
in a
and so-
conception of how the
Right.
universe is ordered.
But this is what I'm
So
saying.
it's
This is
not
what I'm
that
saying.
important.
This is what I'm saying, Jacob.
Yes. That's why
Scream-
I kept saying earlier.
Scream doesn't,
Yes.
Scream
everything
doesn't have a
was changed
scene.
like 5 minutes.
Scream doesn't have a scene where they go to hell. Scream doesn't have a scene where a kid
Okay,
asks, Mom,
again,
how come you have to die to reach
Again.
God?
okay, again, let me ask you. Does John Carpenter in Prince of Darkness believe in God?
I didn't watch Prince of Darkness.
Okay, Zach, do you think John Carpenter in Prince of Darkness believes in God? Because by Justin's criteria, that is a Christian film that literally believes in God.
No, hold on.
God.
Hold on. This is
No,
all
no,
I'm
I
saying.
want Zach's answer.
I would argue that New Nightmares is insufficient Christian as a Christian film too. I agree with you on that. But
Oh, no.
when it comes to weighing it against Scream, I think I know which one's a
Yeah,
bit more
no.
Christian.
Oh no, I think they're about the same. I don't give a shit, but it's because I don't care. I think if you were raised Christian and you want a movie with a literal demon in it, I don't know what the fuck else you're gonna do. I don't know what else you would put in the movie. Like
You could
he's a
not
devil.
have
He's
that
a
demon in it.
Yeah, you can have school shooters in the making and instead people that kill their classmates.
Nah. I mean,
You know,
they
kind of what he
interact
did
with that
4
here.
times. Kind of
They
what Wes
kind of
Craven, rest in
interact with
peace,
that
did 4
here.
times, Jacob.
They
I am the
interact with
one-
that here.
I did bring up Carpenter. I'm the one who did it because I
Yeah.
was saying like I actually used it in defense of myself. Like In the Mouth of Madness, which came out the same year, is
Yeah,
really
it did.
similar to me, like to this film, since that's about like a book, another piece of media that's like coming to fruition or something.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
think it's handled in a
Similar.
much better way because there is
Oh,
that
absolutely.
distance for me. There, Carpenter like. It's not always just the Christian God. Like Carpenter fucks with like Norse mythology and Lovecraftian bullshit all the time too. And
Yeah.
there's always a sardonic way that he handles it. He handles it in a way that is truly morbid. Whereas I find that like
Yeah.
Wes Craven here, it's doesn't come off as anything other than trying desperately to be sincere about this battle of light
Yeah.
versus
I
darkness.
agree.
I don't
I
know
agree.
about that.
Hey, Jacob, they go to hell.
That doesn't matter to me. Get a better argument. No, I don't know because I don't think it's that clear cut in the
Okay, I would-
mythology that New Nightmare puts forth. I'm going to ignore Justin for a second. In the
I'm agreeing
mythology
with you
puts
on
forth,
one point. I'm actually agreeing with
because
you on one point.
I-
Like,
something I brought up was that Nancy, like she has to conform to this thing that's ruining her in order to survive. She has to like conform to Freddy's plan in order to conquer Freddy. So I feel like the order of the universe here is complicated and it's not like that binary.
And remember when we
okay.
talked about Carpenter, we talked about how I talked about at least how nihilistic his films were, and there's not really
No,
like a value
absolutely,
on anything.
incredibly.
Wes Craven, no, though maybe because he is a man who believes things have meaning by being virtue of Christian. Like it makes it like I guess what you're talking about implicitly. Implicitly, each moment of New Nightmare at least is like imbibed with, to me, like a true like meaning or a true weight. Like there's value on the reality that she's losing, as
Yeah.
opposed to John Carpenter showing us no value on reality. We're just
Yeah.
losing it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I
It's
agree
actually
with
one of
that.
the oddest things about the movie for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you just said here. But I think one point that would be in Jacob's favor that I could definitely entertain more is that Wes Craven existing kind of as like the writer and kind of like the one that's orchestrating everything ultimately, even if there's like a for a higher purpose. You could say that could technically just be kind of like almost in fundamental like opposition to God in some sense, because
Yeah.
almost like he's the one that's claiming his own reality, right? But he's still responding to like but then in that sense, in that sense, Freddy Krueger is kind of like both Satan and God. Because I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
how much I'll take
Well,
that
that
as
is what
okay.
Freddy
What-
is, like in
Is that
every
what
instance.
because he does say that he's God in the first one, right? So would you
Yeah.
have to take that? Would you potentially take it literally, where it's almost like it's humankind, kind of like, or specifically with Wes Craven, wrestling his demons, not demons, or not just with Satan, but also with God? Would you maybe say that?
Repeat that in fewer words.
Okay, Freddy Krueger,
Yeah, I think
devil,
Freddy is supposed to be
and
like
God.
a god
Wes
figure.
Craven
Yes.
wrote movie. Wes
Yes.
Craven movie, West of Peace, is
Yeah, that's why I
is.
said this is a narcissistic film.
But would you say that when he kills Freddy Krueger, he might be killing both the devil and God? That's what I'm wondering here.
I mean, I think if he is, that's
Or like
a
religion as an
literary
institution maybe
device.
doesn't have it out against God, but but at any rate, because I was kind of looking at like, well, he kind of like acts as kind of like as like almost like a practice for God, but you can maybe argue that like, but it's almost like blasphemous to be like, hey, I have full control of like kind of my own like world here, and I'm like orchestrating everything because it's my movie, and then
Yeah.
it's like I'm gonna kill you, God, I'm gonna kill you, devil, but like you're the same thing. Is that what you're thinking?
No, I mean, like, I think like any interaction with like God and
I
the
can
devil is
entertain
purely
that
like a
argument.
literary
I can maybe
device to
entertain
put
that.
forth other ideas.
Okay.
Because I think
Yeah, I can.
I think he cares more about the movies here, like as much as Scream 2 does. I
Yeah.
think he's making a movie about actors and
He's
the
kind of like
movie,
in
and
his
I
own
think like
world.
and again, if there is like any mythic quality to this, again, I think it's more folklore because it's a movie with like kind of a clear-cut string of events that like it's like, there's a history to this evil, and then the evil has manifested, and now our hero has to conquer the evil. It's the same thing as the first movie. He's just repeating it. And I think if this movie is like trying to put forth a Christian message, it's no more than like 99% of every movie
Okay,
ever made. Since 99% of movies are made by white guys
right.
who have simply
I
raised
could see that.
Christian.
So you're saying kind of like because they're in like a ultimately Christianized like society that are ultimately going to employ Christianized elements into their films, right?
Again, like that's why I think
Well, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that if you talk directly about God, you talk directly about the devil. I'm saying that's opening more explicit conversation about the nature of God than having Columbine killers, basically.
No, I don't think he cares that much.
Zach nods in approval and silent approval.
I mean, I'm more resistant because like I had a lot of ideas flowing through my head during this movie, and we have not talked about most of them.
Go to some other ones.
No. I mean that more as like to say like any like Christian use in this movie went like over my head as like, yeah, he's just doing it because he has to get to
It
the
was
stuff he
hard not
cares
to
about.
see it because that's mostly like unavailable in the
Well,
next 6 to 7
yes,
years of horror.
yes, but I am liking like maybe the potential interpretation that he's ultimately kind of like opposing religion potentially, but like with this film, I could maybe see that.
Yeah,
maybe.
but
I mean, I think he wrestled with it more than we let on, to be fair.
Well, yeah,
like,
but because you definitely wrestled with it because that's because I totally think that's what Last House is.
Here,
If he gets to a point where he makes Scream a non-spiritual film, it makes but maybe New Nightmare was almost sort of somewhat of a catalyst to get there.
Yeah, but I think that like even opposition of religion is still passe in 1994 in popular genre movies. Like we've done that.
Yeah, like I would say Carrie does it a lot more.
Yeah.
What?
there's no opposition to religion, even in like Move Away from Williamson for a second. Like there's none of that in fucking like Urban Legend to me, or in like Cherry Falls or whatever the fuck, Wrong Turn, any other movies that followed in this one's wake. There's something in Final Destination, I would agree with you. Like there's religious things brought up, but
Mhm.
in the capacity of you're a
smile.
fucking warlock, you're a fucking god now.
I smile every time somebody reads on Final Destination.
Final
That
Destination.
movie,
Oh yeah,
man.
no, Final Destination is like more about God to me than this.
You know, I can sort of see some arguments there. I just think that like if
I
we're
think I
gonna-
talked about that in the
but
video actually.
it's more like when you're comparing Scream to New Nightmare. I feel like there's ultimately just are religious messages there, whether they're passive or whether they're oppositional. That's where the kind of the conversation kind of should maybe be directed. But I think like Scream doesn't really leave much
It's
room
just,
for
for
interpretation.
me, if
But
it's a religious statement that is either passive or confrontational, they both bore me.
I think so.
Do they?
I'm realizing
time?
Justin's focusing in on like the link I made between them, like
Yeah,
earlier. And what I was kind of getting at is that I feel like and I think this actually ties into something I said about this movie, which is that like in this movie, you don't really have a grasp on the order of things in this, whereas you have a great grasp of the order of things in Scream, which I think for me kind of makes me think like there was an order to the universe in Scream. Whereas there was
That's
less
only
of an order
because
to
like
the
you have a
universe
grasp
here.
of the order because you're familiar with horror
With the
movie tropes and
tropes.
the structure.
Yeah, but
nothing divine.
I think those can coexist. I'm not saying like Scream is like a literal like Scream is telling you to go to church. I'm saying like in Scream, I think I'm more liable to think of it there because I see a divine order to the universe in Scream. And it's not saying there's not one in this. I'm saying I don't know what it is. I don't know what the order in New Nightmare is.
It's a divine order that every character openly tries to defy and mostly succeed in, though.
In this or in Scream?
In the Scream films, most of the characters openly try to defy that order.
Yeah, but they never
given
can.
rules and you break all three of them.
Yeah, hey, they never can they?
Yeah, they never can in
Oh,
Scream.
no. Okay, Nancy can.
Well, no, think of it in Scream. In Scream,
wait, hold on.
Every character that is set up to die dies, and the one character who's set up to live always lives.
Sydney,
so Randy died in Scream 1? Did I miss that part?
No,
but he did die later. He did die later.
Right, but
so he had to die.
Hey,
he had to die.
Sydney has sex though. It's Sydney, right? The main character, right? Like she has sex. She has sex. No.
Yeah,
she's a right. She's a non-virgin, but she's the final girl ultimately.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that it's the same thing. I'm not saying like the rules of the
horror,
rules of the universe. No.
Okay, you're saying they can't break the rules, but we just brought up two examples. Come on.
No, I'm saying like those aren't one of the rules. I'm saying like the ontology of the universe of Scream is not necessarily the ontology of horror movies per se. It links the two, but they're not necessarily like they don't necessarily equate.
Okay,
I'm saying there is a divine. No. Listen, I'm saying like there's a divine order to Scream in which like apart from horror movies, in which like there's no.
Sell me on this. I mean, I'm not necessarily in disagreement.
I'm trying to, but you're cutting me off. I'm saying there's no version of events where Billy Loomis stays alive in Scream. He could have never averted his fate in Scream.
The sequels prove that he stays alive. Like everyone's inspired.
Does he? Oh, bro, you just spoiled Scream for me.
Scream 2, he wouldn't have been wearing a ghost mask. Like it's all inspired. His
like the idea.
Wait, does Billy Loomis live?
His mother was the fucking.
No. The idea lives on basically. Like.
Oh no, I mean like literally. You're saying like Billy Loomis literally physically lives in the Scream universe?
No.
No. I thought that's what you were saying, and I was like, are you saying he like comes back in Scream 4? And I was like, what?
Stu was supposed to come back like every movie, but yeah, he was supposed to come back in every one, but no. I hope they get him on 5.
Thank goodness.
That'll be fun. What are you talking about? Stu rules.
No, I actually bring Stu back. Stop bringing Dewey back. Stop bringing Dewey back.
The divine orders that Dewey has to live.
I just think that you're applying a divine order to a narrative order, and I'm not tracking with that.
Well, I could sort of entertain that honestly, but I think ultimately like to say that New Nightmare in contrast doesn't at least engage with like religion, like whether it's like pro or anti, like more than
I think if
Scream,
it is, it's super superficial. It's really superficial.
I can entertain it being superficial, totally. Like I can.
But that's
I
the
can,
extent
I
of my
can-
argument, is that it's not that deep. It's superficial.
It's hellfire deep. Like
There is a
no,
It's
hell.
it's what?
There, and we can move on to anything else.
I don't know.
But there is a hell. It was all I was saying.
yeah, but you know, it could still kind of be looked at as some kind of, you can apply some kind of other metaphor or whatever. Okay, forget God for a moment. All right, forget the devil for a moment. How else did you engage with it, Jacob? Because you said that I didn't even think about the Christian stuff at all. Okay, so what did you look at?
No, like I said, I've covered actually a lot of it. I think it's
Yeah.
like trying to psychoanalyze Heather, which is actually just psychoanalyzing Wes Craven and his relationship to working in horror and working in Hollywood at all, and how he fucking hates it.
I feel like the other part of it, the critique of film and of horror culture as folklore or as mass media is even a better made in Scream 2. Like I feel like even that is more articulate.
It's about
Well,
Especially
I would say
psychoanalyzing.
I would say the Christian elements that are present in this film almost kind of like weigh the postmodern stuff down.
Yeah, but now we're moving to that though.
Yeah. I know. I know, but I'm saying it weighs it down. Where it's almost like we're trying to aim for the postmodern and stuff, but like there's this, but the Christian stuff is heavier, but it's also superficial, right? Like so, it's like I don't really know.
The director literally appears as himself, talking about how he's writing the movie you're watching.
Yep, it reminds me of like Adaptation, except this is a better movie.
What about that ending when it shows us the final page?
I like that. I like that. That was cool. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I try not to throw around the word pretentious too often, but I don't know. Maybe I could.
I mean, again, it's an.
I understand why somebody would call this pretentious.
I don't think it's bad to be narcissistic. It's, you know, Wes earned it.
Well, not just narcissistic, but also just like solipsistic.
I feel like it's narcissistic, but he is trying to make a sincere statement about art, not necessarily about God. I think God is just part of his worldview. But what statement do you think it's making about art and the way we interact with it, and how I think he feels socially responsible for it?
I think maybe one way to look at it is that maybe he's encouraging us to think, you know, may rest in peace, but like he's encouraging us to think like a bit more critically about kind of like how these horror films and stuff can, or just media itself can impact culture, and then by extension how it can impact children, honestly, and how like maybe like we should find some kind of a we should kind of be a bit more responsible with not just what we consume and what we kind of like make popular, but then also like how we raise children and how they engage with this kind of material to some extent.
I don't know if he moralizes that much, only because I'm not sure the movie like believes that there are solutions to the issues he raises, if that makes sense. Like he raises like a number of issues, but not enough in the way of like alternatives or confrontation.
I agree with that, but given the fact that like the mom and son are such a central core element of like the film, I think that there's something specific about it. It's like where maybe Wes Craven is like, oh man, like I just like created this monster, and you know, and this is going to impact the next generation, but let's kill him, let's kill the devil, or I don't know. It's hard for me not to just go back to some kind of religious like interpretation of it. I mean, I feel like even if it's superficial, it's so like present in the text.
Even Wes's postmodern philosophy is so self-defeating. So it's about capturing evil on a screen so that it can't hurt anyone, but the evil can still leave the screen. So you have to keep making more movies. It's self-defeating, and circular, and confusing.
Yeah, which to me is more postmodern than anything. That's the most postmodern.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
It's like a self-replicating process that you can't escape.
I agree with that, but I'm trying to find out like how much of that, how self-aware is he about what he's doing with that? Because I think ultimately though, I agree, because it's almost like, hey, he may just be a figment of I think this is how I look at it, and just like what you're saying, like he creates this monster for the screen, but then ultimately that has real world consequences. That's kind of what I think. It's kind of more like a personal like.
I
It
would
goes back to
say
what
he's
Jacob was saying. Like, it does not have a coherent thesis. Like, Scream
it
2 has a
doesn't.
thesis by the end. Like, you don't blame the movies.
Yes, but I don't know.
This one, I don't know. I
Are you
don't know
sure?
what
Are you
it's
sure
even
that
saying.
well, maybe, are you sure the thesis isn't simply that like we like to kind of like understand that sometimes performance is not just performance, sometimes like creation is not simply like creating art is not simply just
I
creating art, but because it has a ripple effect. And then that gets us to Scream, where it's almost like, do we blame the movies or do we not? So on and so forth. We don't blame the movies, but the movies make psychopaths more creative or
Creative.
something, right?
Yeah.
Like
I
then,
yeah, on one thing I would say, like, I do think he's self-aware, because I don't think you can make a movie about like how movies are corrupting the children in the movie that you're making a sequel, like you're making the
Yeah.
sequel to the movies you're saying are, but also
well,
I
what I
would
mean by self-aware is how cognizant is he of its own like nuances or lack thereof. That's kind of what I was meaning.
I think I think you have to be with a movie that like
Right, but he said,
wrestles this
but
much.
if you were if you were to argue that a lot of it's muddled and a lot of it doesn't have a clear doesn't really have a clear thesis, is he aware about that? That's my question.
I don't know, but I also I think about it now, I don't think this is any more of like, or any less clear to me than Scream 2, only because I think both
I think
just
Scream 2 is more
provide
clear.
questions and conflicts that aren't really resolved
Well,
by
yes,
the
but you
end.
can still
Because
kind
in
of
Scream 2,
pinpoint.
you're saying like, do movies make people like the thing
Well,
you just said?
okay,
And
right,
testing
but it poses a
ideas.
confrontational question. Even if it doesn't have
Yeah,
a solution, it poses a question. This
yeah,
movie,
that's what I'm saying.
I would say that Scream 2 is ultimately still more clear because I don't know what the question exactly is being posed here
Oh yeah,
exactly.
I think this is trying to pose the same questions, but it's a lot harder to follow here.
So maybe what we can
Like,
kind
I
of
didn't realize it till later. Like, I was like, okay, I
right,
realize it's trying to do the
I
Scream
do
2
wish
thing.
there was
It's
more of
it's less
everything, more
clear.
right.
sophistication, more empowerment. Like, I wish that like Freddy
Well,
had that Sydney line of like, you forgot one thing about Freddy Krueger, I fucking killed him. Like, I wish there was more empowerment to this woman. She's like, there's not like, it doesn't do
yeah,
much
because she's a
what it
real
has.
she's like a real person, not like a screen icon. But I think maybe one thing that we can glean from all this is basically it's like um is like really Wes Craven made rest in peace. Like he needs maybe somebody to filter kind of like between good ideas and bad ideas. Because like I mean, like don't get me wrong, I think Wes Craven's great and all, but like rest in peace. But the thing is he doesn't maybe he doesn't always have it all together.
Mm.
And maybe you need somebody like Kevin Williamson sometimes to make this kind of a movie.
Yeah,
Especially
it,
when he's tackling these ideas. Maybe he can do something that's a bit more streamlined, and not as like kind of more self-referential and metatextual, when he's kind of like more working on with his own kind of like ideas and script, you know.
yeah, Scream is more of a like a coherent like whole.
I say
Like,
all this,
but
but I say all this, but I think I actually like this movie more. But
I
I
was
really get, yeah. But as far as pinpointing a thesis, yeah, I think like Scream does that a lot better.
Well, I was
Um,
actually going to say the same thing, because I think I might like this more, or they're about the same to me. But the only reason
really.
I'm thinking of saying that now is just because this is a messier, more incoherent movie, but I kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that this movie is just kind of like
Hey,
antagonistic towards itself.
in that sense, there's no order, right? It's
Fair
more
enough.
chaotic. Scream, there's too much of a, if there's a clear thesis, then is that truly embracing
No,
kind of like the
I mean,
postmodern like kind of like chaos? I don't know. Maybe not.
By
yeah,
the
I
way,
mean, you're saying that kind of,
I don't think I need to say it, but Scream 1, 2, and 4 are fucking amazing movies, and New Nightmare is okay. It
What do you
doesn't
think of
compare to
Scream?
me at all.
For the audience, what do you think of
I
Scream
don't like
3?
this movie nearly as much as most of the movies in the horror genre that came after it for the next 6 years.
What do you think of Scream 3?
I don't like Scream 3. Wes Craven really should have had Kevin write the script again instead of Aaron Kruger and himself.
Maybe that's kind of just the issue here. Maybe with this movie, it would just be shaped up if you had something like somebody like Kevin Williamson, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I don't know how much Williamson was really a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, he liked the
Yeah,
first
because
one.
there's that line in Scream 1 where Drew Barrymore definitely says the first one was good, but the rest sucked. And Wes kept that line, even though he's like, I disagree, by the way, on the commentary. But that's cool.
Yeah, I saw that.
I feel that too. Oh man, like this, I had no idea this conversation would be as spirited.
Or spiritual.
It's not. I would say it's just as spiritual as the last one.
Yeah, I'd agree.
See, I was using the Jacob logic. It worked.
Mhm.
Do we have closing thoughts? Are we even to a closing yet?
I don't know. Are we?
Who has what? What are some things you liked about it, Jacob?
That I liked about it?
Yeah, I think we all like this.
I like John Saxon in this.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace.
John Saxon rules. I've said a million times, he's just a delight. I mentioned it before in passing. I love how much this movie fucking hates doctors.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's kind of something I see with a lot of like kind of like authority figures within Wes Craven's films. Honestly,
it happens in a lot of horror movies, honestly.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
brought it up in the faculty video because I was like I think I said like in the faculty video, like one of the most terrifying parts of that movie is that Elijah Wood is right, but there's no way any adult would ever believe him. And that's like the most terrifying thing about it. And I think horror taps into that a lot, is like these things that are like obviously real, but like anyone around you that has any power refuses to believe you. And I think that does that here, because like they just fucking antagonize Heather, those doctors, like the nurse, they like fucking antagonize
Now that you
her.
bring it up, like that trope is almost evaded entirely in the Scream movies, and I never really realized that. Like,
Oh yeah, they
all
take
know there's
Sydney
a
pretty
killer.
seriously. Yeah,
They all
yeah,
believe it.
and also
Oh
throughout
God.
Scream 2, Sydney is in like great danger, and everyone goes out to help her because they're like, everyone fucking pays $500 to fly out to Cincinnati to go protect her. Like,
I never thought about that. Like that trope is available and clear in Final Destination, Urban Legend, The Faculty, but in Scream, no. We know they're dead at the beginning. We see that first kill, everyone knows about it.
Yeah, another one is that like someone will die and then like for months, or like in depending on the movie, like in some movies for like days, and everyone's like, oh, they're just like on vacation or something. It's like the American Psycho thing. Yeah, like the American Psycho thing where someone literally died and they're like, oh no, I saw him last week. It's like, that wasn't Paul Allen. It's the completely evades that in Scream. The second someone's dead, like the cops are there. And everyone
Damon Brooks,
knows.
He's snowboarding every day of his life. David Brooks.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite parts of Urban Legend. Like, she's like, guys, I literally saw Damon get hung from a tree, and they're like, he's just hanging out. Why are you being so paranoid, bitch? Like, it's some of the dumbest shit ever. They do that so much. Yeah, they do that a lot here.
And in Final Destination too, because they're like, he just killed himself, or like, it's just a plane crash. You're wrong, Alex. They do it everywhere except for in Scream. That's wild. That has nothing to do with this movie, but you just made it click.
I have to think about that.
They don't question her.
No, I mean they do kind of do it here, but
you know what they also don't. You know what they also don't question? God's existence.
They don't. No.
But again, I also think like the doctor thing is mostly just like, I don't think he actually cares about like doctors. I think he's mostly just using that to put towards like people that antagonize him and his work. But then he's also kind of like, maybe they're right, but like,
well, yeah, but I think he critiques like authority figures all the time with that, and that probably ties back to his fundamentalist, like his last house, the bumbling cops. There's got to be something with Dewey. I just don't get Dewey. I hate Dewey, but
I'd explain it to you, but it'd take too long. You probably wouldn't get it.
He's the key to the Scream movies.
He's the key.
Dewey is the key to everything.
Once I understand Dewey, I'll love the Scream movies. Like,
you haven't cracked the code. He's essential.
I have to watch the next two then.
I'm here to catch the killer. He's amazing. Oh God.
Yeah, he's okay. No, he sucks. What am I talking about?
I thought it was that easy. I thought I just convinced you.
Every time we do these, Justin's like has like the most passionate response to something I did not notice at all. Like the Scream 2 is my favorite still, because it's like, I don't know, Dewey's just kind of there. he's like a side character. He doesn't matter that much. He's not really relevant to the plot. I don't think about him.
Yeah, but
And then
why is he there
Justin
all
goes
the
on for like
time?
20
They
minutes.
insist upon him. They insist upon him.
You're doing the Family Guy thing. It insists upon itself. Dewey insists upon itself.
I guess.
I mean,
Is that where we're
I'm about
ending
done
on a
with New
Family Guy
Nightmare. I had
reference?
no idea it would be like this. I'm almost done
Me
with New
neither.
Nightmare. I do
Alright.
view it, and I don't think I'm wrong, as a fetus for the whole wave of horror that was to come, not just
Yeah,
Craven's
okay,
own
gotcha.
films, but
Yeah,
it
comparatively,
has
it feels
it's such a
skeletal.
weird disparity, or not disparity. It's such a huge difference, night and day. When we go like 90 to 95, and then 96 to 2000. Holy shit! Like horror just. That's how powerful Scream was. Like, there's a pre-Scream and post-Scream when we're dealing with the 90s. There's your Candymans and the Mouth of Madness, Nightbreeds, and like this movie.
Breeds.
Well, it's true. In the
Yeah.
early 90s, you had those kinds of films, and then they're
Have you seen
dominated by.
Nightbreed?
I've seen parts of it. I
Haven't watched the whole thing, huh? Before you
I didn't
judge.
feel like it. Fair enough.
I mean,
I scoff because it's one of those things that exists in the backlog of my memory, and then when I hear about it, I'm always like, oh, I fucking forgot about Nightbreeds.
it's just night and day. Like, the ideology is like, to me, almost diametrically opposed. It's so weird. And when we get to Scream and the teen slasher movies that dominated the latter half of the 90s, and it's like, wow. But at least I can see the seeds here. I can't really see the seeds in I can't see the beginning of it in Carpenter's work or
No, not at all.
Barker's stuff. I can't really see it in
No,
Barker or
definitely.
Carpenter, but I can see it here in Craven. Like, Craven's
Barker-
had an idea.
I'll have to think about Barker in that respect. I could maybe form some kind of argument there. But at any rate,
I mean, if,
Yeah,
if we're saying that we see God in Craven's work, I see God in Barker's too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
he comes at it from a gay point of view. Like, it's quite different.
True, but it's not like you're like losing queerness. I mean, Scream might be heteronormative, but it's written by a queer writer.
Oh,
Like,
okay. Oh, no.
I don't know.
You
They-
look up Billy and Stu. No, it has queerness.
Oh
in
no,
there.
yeah, absolutely. But like that's a theory. That's subtextual. That's not necessarily.
Right.
I
It's
don't
not,
know,
it's not. It's not a contextually doctrine. Right.
Justin, God loves everybody. Sounds kind of gay to me.
What?
That's a good place to end it.
All right. Rest in peace, Wes Craven.